One Love and Wellness. Welcome to the next episode of Heart Happy Hour. I'm Precious Mother Love. Love plus art equals wellness. Did it down, land of love. Welcome to this episode of Heart Happy Hour. It is Black History Month. It is the month of love, loving up on us. Hey, it's our month. Loving up on ourselves, self-love. Black Love Day is the 13th, and today is the full moon. So let me get to this and turn this down for you. At the end of the rainbow. And just to let you know, that is a song by myself, written by myself 10 years ago. Some of it was recorded in 2012. Some of it was recorded in 2021, or, we unshelved it then. And now in 2022, I am about to release a video for it. So keep an eye out. But, I've got so many artistry sorts of, strains of hobbies and streams of income that, I just explore all of the talents that I'm given, and they continue to multiply and manifest, making room for themselves. Okay, so this episode, we're going to do our poem. We will have a words segment. I'm going to talk about spiritual love, familial love, companionship love, family, friends, family, those who you choose as your tribe, love. So I'm going to talk about love, but I'm also going to talk about a loving spiritual experience that I had, which was an invisible surgical procedure. Had a witness, so I can have someone to confirm and corroborate. But yeah, so we're going to talk about the UFO event that I had, that I observed also with a witness a week and a half ago. That was I want to say the 6th of February, and today, 10 days later, is the 16th. So happy Love Month, or Black Love Month, or Black Love Day, which is celebrated on February the 13th. And we're going to talk about the full moon in Leo as well. So, One Love and Wellness, let's get the poem started. Not going to start in the beginning. It is a long poem. Wrote this on the 3rd of 2022. So, where I am starting, I am going to discuss some of the words that are in this poem. This has something to do with some of the segments that I've mentioned will be coming forth in this episode. And so I'm tying them all together in a neat little bow with my poetry, accentuating some of this energy. So it's a new day. It's a new time. And we're flying by the seat of our pants, planet hopping through the sky. You can fly with your virtual wings. Johnny Rocket in the inner eye, you can soar and launch into the deep. Euphoria, lucid dreams. Folks that you meet in your dreams, those inner beings, inner purpose, intermission, mission control. Exalted melanation through sun-activated roles. Pandemic level fears to redirect and divert our inner seers. BLM rainbows, cause they dilute the DNA bosses. Connected to the stars like Venus and Mars, pandemic blew a silent whistle, calling the UFOs off pause. Releasing headlines that ETs are among us. What was the big secret is now fast forwarded, and we see flying saucers. Could be the man next door has an alien lover. And of course, sir, you know they're always watching, streaming you while we stream Netflix, Amazon, and Hulu. They see, they see the gases. I'm sorry, they see that the gods are among us. They see the inner beings in our superheroes as we begin in our onward mission. In the inhuman, Alexa, Google, the Google gal, or OnStar or Big Brother, they know our IP and they steady streaming and watching, sending intel and selecting intellectual mantras for us, directing and redirecting our attention and stealing our valuable inner space within. Mummify the words of the absurd intentions. Intend and leave your senses that brought you that inner fear, and gird up your senses from that inner ear to hear what is worth the cause, the balance of the inner and outer, applause, pause, and cause. What's true and authentic will always rise and resonate, rebuild and reboss, reboot to escape. One Love Awareness. I was all over the place, but the the gist of it is there's a lot going on in you know there's a micro world that's going on inside of us on the on dimensions, various dimensions, just as exterior of us, universal, galactic, has these also systems and formations and processes and procedures and rules and regulations and conjunctions and you know all kinds of this is we are electromagnetic beings, so we are influenced by all of these. If everything is if everything is in constant motion and energy never dies, if we are I remember once when I had opened up what I felt was my senses, my sensitivities too soon. I had a sensory overload. Everything was to an extreme. It was more than I was willing to process through my linear thoughts. It was a lot more vast than I could imagine. It's something that took me to that place once before when my mind actually got scattered was when I saw the light. I saw a being. This was in my meditation. I was, I suppose I was doing some astral travel at that time. And I was in conversation with this being. The being was a bit of ways from me on an arc, sort of a bridge. And he said, "Do not look upon me." Um, you know, it happened kind of, I want to say, well, shortly after he said that, because I think he said it just before I decided to take a gander. And at that time, I looked upon the light. The light was too much. I couldn't take it all in. It was not able to be absorbed. I could not recognize exactly what needed to be done in the process of fielding that energy through me to allow it to pass through and around and whatever else I had or could have done with that energy for it to not space me out. It actually, at that instant, I was transformed into multiple millions of pieces across the universe and had to mine my pieces. I had to bring in those pieces. Not all my pieces came back. Not all the pieces that I pulled back were mine. I believe, I'm not sure if that was one of my, I know that was kind of like an out of body experience, but I'm not sure if that was considered an experience where it might have been near death. It very well could have been potentially a near death experience because I came back changed. I was never the same. I was never that person that was prior to that conversation, that exchange with that light being. Um, And that brings me to the segment on UFOs. Actually, I wanted to start about love. Let's just talk about Black Love Day, which was the 13th of February. Black Love Month, you might as well say, is Black History Month. This is also the month of what is the Chinese New Year. The full moon is in Leo. So we also have a lot of fiery. The element for Leo is the fire. The sun is its planet. There's a lot of feisty energy going on right now. So, folks may feel the remnants of this full moon in such a way that they now get the courage to move forward with something, or something that they've been brewing on and it's been marinating. It might be energized now. They might take the initiative of moving forward into the direction that they feel that they've been led to and preparing for, and now have girded themselves up, courageously. Like I know in the movie The Wizard of Oz that, it was the Tin Man who wanted the heart. Well, I am not certain if the Tin Man was the one who needed the heart, because if the lion did not have courage, a lot of times a lion, a lion-hearted person versus a chicken-hearted person, if you have courage to do something, they say, oh, you got heart. Like the heart is the energy source within the body. Actually, it pulls the chi from, or the prana from the air, from the breath. It sensitizes through the lungs, and the energy, it goes through the heart, and then it disperses it through our circulatory system, through the plasma, through the DNA. All of that is energizing each of our organs to fall into place and utilize its purpose on the team. So for all practical purposes, this is the new year. And I know lots of other countries, including China, observe this as the Chinese New Year, February 1st this year through, I think, the 15th, which was up to yesterday, which gives them 2 weeks of celebration time, 2 weeks of exchanging love, self-love. They surprise things on the youth. They have, vibrant colors, like red is a very the kids, they give kids red colored packages or red colored candy. Everything within those celebrations symbolizes something. And speaking of the celebration, let's go ahead and discuss the Black Love celebration. Girlfriend of mine, Ayo Handy Kendi, she has initiated, well, she was a part of a group that was called the African American Holiday Association. I'll talk about the word Holy Day later, but she had already initiated some reasons to celebrate ourselves, outside of his Black History Month. Every day is Black History in my life. With the life that I've lived, a grandmother that worked in the White House for 25 years. And she worked there as a volunteer after she retired from the Pentagon. I had family that worked for they now have buildings named after them, parks named after them. We have a day named after our last name. There's a lot of Black history in the making in my family. My mom being the businesswoman that she was. Well, I come from a family of entrepreneurs that go on to train entrepreneurs who utilize, let's just say, the 9 to 5, if ever they take that, just as leverage to fuel the fire for their other mission, their other vision, their other the reason for their being on this planet. And I don't know how well each of them knew that, but I feel like I'm stepping on the shoulders of, when my grandfather was Ike and Tina Turner's manager until he died. Tina Turner said the eulogy. So I've got some I won't say African American. I've got some history in my family, buildings named after family members, not just one, several. Folks who, I have a great uncle who was chief of police in several major cities. A cousin, second removed, that was He was a coach for some major national basketball team. I mean, I've got some pretty heavy hitters in my family, and the best thing I could say is that, that DNA, that blood that is passed on to me in successive excuse me, generations. Feisty stuff there, our plasma blood DNA is. We're some go-getters, some upward mobile folks. Not only, I have a cousin, I'm sorry, an aunt who started the Head Start program within the White House as it started there and it branched out from there. Some heavy educational, scientific, financial, So anyway, enough of the boasting. Let me get off the soapbox. I wanted to talk about the book that my girlfriend Ayo Handy Kendi wrote in reference to starting the rituals for Black love, starting with self-love. She used that whole 24 hours, and she makes reference to cleaning up your past so that you can clear away the clutter so that you can now flow freely forward. Forward with love, forward with, less guilt, less baggage, less scars, less harm, do no harm. And I want to speak to the fact that, as she's teaching us how to love ourselves, I think that's an awesome thought that we need to make sure that we're teaching. Like, I know there's a book on the four languages of love. And so, just like there are four or more personality types, like each of us has our own way that we would like to receive, and or ways that we have either learned or liked or become accustomed to giving or receiving love. So I believe that hurt people or shy away from being, connected to people. So if you remain hurt and you remain scarred, you remain traumatized, if you remain, put yourself in a mindset of PTSD, these are things that you can make a choice with. You can choose to think differently, to act differently, to be differently. You have a choice. That's the difference between good and evil. You can either go forward in the good, in the light of the God. Let's just say good energy is you using your energy for the good or the greater good, or for some loving reason or fashion, form, or activity. But then you could also, and I think I'm going to bring this down a little bit. You can also, in the lessons of love, in loving each other, you can also listen to and tell each other, how is it? Like, we don't have to always have to figure it out. Because there are different things that affect us in different ways from different directions, coming from different people. My mom coming and kissing me on the cheek is going to be received a little differently from my neighbor coming and kissing me on my cheek that I've never had a conversation with or said hi to. So I receive love differently from different people that are in my circle. The closer you are to my nuclear, to my inner realm, my inner, the soft part of me, the inner soft, the sweet, the loving kind, that connection, like I love my husband differently from how I love my mother. I love my daughter, my son, my grandson differently, each in their own, connection to me. We're all connected in some way. But in some cases, you're more removed. Like you say, your second cousin is once removed, So there's different ways that we love each other, and we need to talk more about it. And it's not that you have to read anything about anybody. It's good to have conversations. I asked a friend of mine today what was his sun sign. Now, astrology is an ancient, I want to say science, but I also want to say art, because even though the science of zodiacs or astrological or cosmological impacts, energetic energy impacting you, even though you know those things, you can also utilize that knowledge in an artistic way so that you are therefore more accommodating or more encouraging to a certain, like for instance, the person mentioned that they were a Libra. And I actually could see that in their personality. But I asked that because I wanted to know how to support them best. This person is looking to be a potential leader of a major organization. And in the building of it, I am, somewhat involved in the gathering and the mustering. I am a marketing professional. I am also a very intellectual and educated person who likes like-minded people. And, this, I want to be attached to something that is progressive, that moves in the right direction, that has the right basis, the right spiritual essence, energies, the right heart, the heart of the matter. And so getting back to the heart of the matter, the full moon being in Leo, Leo being the associated with the sun, that's their ruling planet, and then also Leo being the ruler of the heart, and the heart being celebrated, love being celebrated in the month of February, which is also the new year. As I mentioned, Leos are very courageous. So people will be doing things that they might would have uh, before this time, before the sun rose to this place in its cycle, which is on its way to the spring equinox in just a little over one lunar cycle. But that is, where we are. We are in the start of just before the spring, the energy springs forth. The sun starts to linger in the sky a little longer. The days are lengthening. Each day we add another couple of minutes of rays of sun. That is when it's not being, clouded, whether naturally or unnaturally, because we are having certain controls. Man has learned certain things, which leads me to the fact that, in this country, we accept a lot of things that other countries won't accept. I was listening to a gentleman, a Brit, that was talking about in their country, they're a lot more clear or open in reference to the investigations of UFOs. There is less hiding of, even though the U.S. has done, and there's probably some international coordination of information where they are all trying to get on the same page and say this is what happened and make sure this is the info that gets circulated. But at the same time, these are the things that they introduced to the movies. They introduced them in our media in whatever form or fashion, television, video, whatever, music, entertainment. So I just wanted to make sure that, I did explore all of that kind of information as an introduction to, I will be doing an astrology segment on each of my shows according to, I always do a full moon. I've been doing full moons. I used to do charts. I've been a part of several mystery schools. One when I was back when I was 25, and that's when I learned how to do charts. And that's when I was really, like, my parents raised me on intellectual feedings, as well as my scientific. I like to discover things. I would go places and get lost on purpose so that I could hone my inner compass. We all do have a inner GPS, a global positioning system, connection to it. We can find north. We can find true north, which is what the astrological signs are guided by, which is why, we'll get into the Gregorian stuff later. But I just want to make mention of the UFO sightings that I had. One that was about 10 days ago, And one that was I want to discuss, it's like a continuation. This is like part three of a story I told about, which was really my honeymoon. But when I went to California, in reference to like every day, consistently, consecutively, there were some superior, supreme spiritual stuff going on. So I'm going to give you a little tidbit of that. And so, and all these have witnesses. I always have to make sure that I let you know I do have folks that can corroborate my stories and confirm they were there. So about 10 days ago, like I said, on the 6th of February, I was driving up this Division Avenue. I'm here in DC right now. The second story is about California. So anyway, I'm driving up Division Avenue, and as I'm going up the hill, I see what looks like about five, it's in the shape of a V. There's one at the top, and then there's two on the sides, pointing up to the vortex. And so I see them, but I could tell that they're individual because they're not just standing still like it's on one stable, solid structure. It actually, they each individually began to give a little ebb and flow a bit. And so I pointed it out to the person who was driving. I was like, hey, look at that UFO, look. And it was basically standing still at the moment, but then off into the distance, as we stopped at one stop sign, stopped at the next stop sign. So when we got to the top of the hill, I was able to see over the horizon because you could see over the houses and over the hill. And so there was one more that was coming down. And just as it got into position, they all went boosh, and they all disappeared. Now that's to me. I don't know what direction they went to. I don't have, telescopic eyes. Didn't have a binoculars. I do have binoculars. I normally keep in my backpack. I mean, I have a little survival kit. I'm a little prepper. I get a little preppy sometimes. So, but I didn't have them with me. And I just talked to someone about theirs and say, oh yeah, I got mine. But that must have been my sign to put them in my bag. But in any case, so they disappeared, dispersed, and went, on about their business. That day happened to be the same day that I was involved in, just before I left the house, the spirit kept saying, don't go, don't go, don't go, and some reason my head is pretty hard sometimes. Sometimes I really, really do listen, and I'm sharp as a tack, and it gets me where I need to go and does all the things that I need to do, and I'm all connected and everything. And then sometimes I'm like, whatever. I don't mean to, but that's the feeling that I get after the fact, after I figure out why it said what it said. So I got into a car accident on the way. And that was the thought just before. Oh, it's not like I'm gonna get into a car accident, and bang zoom, that's what happened. So gotta listen to that inner communication more, or as much as possible, because I will synchronize and line up with things. And that reminds me, Santos, my mentors are lining up. I spoke to, I didn't read that part of the poem, but I was talking about how the pupils disappear when the student is ready. The pupils disappear. So, but we'll go off on those things another time. So I think I'd like to start talking about the words. I think I've done a pretty good job of going over the things that I wanted to talk about. I'll talk about the spiritual healing and then the words. How about that? So, One Love and Wellness. I think that this was a spiritual healing, a spiritual gifting, a spiritual show of love or compassion or empathy. But it was an invisible force. And so I'll explain this. So I remember speaking the first two parts. The first part I spoke about when I got to this beach. And as soon as I hit the sand, there were these voices that were, hey, who are you? Where are you from? Are you friend or foe? Or, what are you here for? 7, 6, 7, 8, whatever voices. And I say that because I could hear from different directions. I am able to, use the sonar and tune in to where's that energy source coming from. And so that particular event led to me going to, as I stepped off of the sand, because I had this experience on the sand, then I had this experience as I stepped off the sand. So as I stepped off the sand and I took a step, and it felt like I got raised, and then I was able to, and I felt me, I want to say hydroplane, but elevated, levitated, um, gliding, 4 or 5, maybe 6 or 7, I don't know, a couple of pats per feet was above ground. And so, you know, that particular area, I believe, has a lot of spiritual or unseen or invisible, because when you start thinking about ETs or things that are in other dimensions or things that are from other planets or from other places, I've got to include all of that in my spectrum of discovery. Like, what is this? So that is a hot zone, a vortex. That area has a lot of high elevated frequent energies. So that was the first day. So then the next day I went to, I was led to, well, what happened is I got in the way of somebody's fist, and there was a fist that hit my face, and I was starting to get a black eye. My face had started to swell, and so I said it in that way, that I got in the way of that, because I felt as though I could say what I needed to say without getting to that elevated energy level. And so I moved forward with a higher energy level than I should have at that point, and triggered this person into releasing, well, they did not have the control, and ended up connecting with my face. So in any case, so that day, I wanted to go heal, and I knew, we had come to that area because of the name of the mountain. The mountain was the name of the mother of at that time, my husband. And so I wanted to go to heal, and I felt that the on that mountain named after his mother, that I would find some healing. Just, going off the spirit. The spirit led me to the top of this mountain. And I did take my ex-husband with me. So because he was into cemeteries and into other like symbolic energies, things that are in architecture, energetic kinds of signs and symbols. He was in a whole, this guy was like intellectually brilliant. But in any case, so we were on this mountain, and he was doing his thing off, with his discovery process, doing his science thing, and I was doing my thing. At that point, I felt that I was there to be healed, and so I leaned back and I laid in the sun, and I could feel the sun on my face, but I also felt like I should have put some ice on it, because it was now starting to swell, and it was starting to have some physical indications of what had happened. And so the more I was aware of that, it's as though I sent out a call. And that call was telling I guess, the nurse to go get the doctor. And that I was in the waiting room, and what waiting room I was in, because I immediately felt the presence of an energy, and that energy, I feel like I went into a spiritual surgery. My face was being suppressed, and I want to say it was from, I could tell that the person was facing me, the energy was facing me, because when they put their hand down on my face, and I say hand, I couldn't see anything, but I am using terms of which how these limbs are. I don't know how individual energies, anatomy is, but in any case, I could tell that when they put their, and I have to, this is the opposite, but when they put their pressure on me. I could tell that it was, it was covering everything except for what needed to be worked on. And so I was like, "Can you hear me? You see what's happening? You see this?" And because I was trying to ask them to observe what was going on, and they're like, so, but while this is happening, I'm feeling this constant pressure. I'm feeling the slicing of a surgical invisible knife going down the center and cutting out and releasing all of this toxic or bad or energized energy. It removed all of the pain, all of the swelling, all of the discoloration. It was, it was healing that happened, in a flash. I mean, I could feel this happening, and I could feel the release, and then I could feel when the pressure was no longer there, when the hand or the whatever limb was removed. And whoo! I mean, it was just like popping, and not necessarily popping a pimple, but it's like the energy just exploded out of me to the point where I was then able to be healed. There were no scars, no marks, no hand imprints, nothing like that. But I feel that was a loving response to what was going on with us. My energy must have reached out, my inner being, I recently learned that the soul is in the plasma that's in the blood, the DNA, all of that is there, being circulated coursing through our veins, energizing our all of our limbs and our organs. But in any case, that was the second story that I wanted to tell you about the UFO incident. And so the last thing is we'll go on to the words. I have a few words I'd like to speak on. I mean, two simple ones that I have said over and over and over, and I'll just reiterate them. Hello, you know, hell is low. So if you say hi, I instead like to say hi, hi, how are you? Hi. That's how I say hi there. Because I don't want to be hell or low. Okay. Another one I say, and I mentioned this one earlier, and I said I'd come back to it, and I've said this before. Holy day. The Brits say, when you're on vacation, you're on holy day. Yeah, you're taking a personal holy day. You are celebrating yourself. You are giving yourself R&R. You are self-love, self-care. That is what I feel on the individual level. But a lot of times the holy days that are observed, or internationally, are based on cosmological positioning or seasons. Like the East is more naturally attuned to the seasons than as we are in this Western world. So I just recently learned about it. Don't fault me, because these are literal freaking words, and I couldn't get it. But that fall and spring, fall forward and spring, no, spring forward and fall back, right? So falling back just totally discombobulated me when you think of the fact that the sun is falling below the horizon, or it's springing forward and it is moving into the spring equinox, the summer solstice, or whatever other, we recognize these cosmological or seasonal, which is really relating to where are the planets, what is our star system lined up with. And by the way, if you've ever thought about this, I've never till recently, there is weather in space. There are space weather stations, channels, websites, and that sort of thing. And so, we know how these cold fronts come, or these um, El Ninos and things like that, tornadoes, high winds. All these things are influenced by, the placement of the planets that are in our vicinity, and the space weather directly. We don't think outside of the box enough to include the outer elements, as above, so below. So we have a micro version of the weather in our region, our domain, on our planet. Terra, rock. That was another word I wanted to speak on. Was terrain, extraterrestrial, not from extra or another rock. From another planet. There are other words like terrarium, territory. Those are the kinds of words that let you know it's in reference to the physical real estate or a particular place, an actual physical. And it may go beyond that, because these words are so adaptable into the multiple dimensional meanings, as my mind expands, the application of these elevates as well. So it's, even though we have 10 or 12 different definitions for something, we also, it may have something to do with trying to confuse the energies. But as you begin to raise yourself, your mindset, your energy into another way of thinking, looking at things like the etymology of words, and etum also is another word for atom. So when you're looking at and you're seeking or searching the origin of things, we're atoms, protons, neutrons, electrons. We are atom beings, and the words themselves have a particular vibration, just as everything is in motion. As we vocalize certain energy. I think I talked last week about names that have a certain energy. When you call those names, you don't even know that that's what you're saying per se. When you give someone a name, like when I was growing up, I noticed that my parents were picking names that, African names that meant something. I have a brother who was named from a book of African names, and it was sought to mean something. My grandson again has a name that has a specific energy and a meaning. I feel the same way for my daughter. Her middle name means diamond. And it is, she is, she's a tough cookie, but she shines like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond. One love and wellness. That's it for today. Hope you hung in with us the whole way. Love+Art equals wellness is our sponsor. You can find us on every platform, pretty much every platform, including TikTok, including Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, websites, Google sites. Google it, and if you have the desire or the need to have some stones wrapped, or if you want to see some of the things that I have, I can do a virtual visit. We can do a virtual conversation and see what you like. I am wearing citrine on my ears, rose quartz on this finger, red coral, giving up some love energy for your root chakra for this time of the year, this brand new lunar cycle. The red crystal, this is the red crystal. And what else do I have on? I don't have anything else on. It's just, this really does help your arthritis. All these other copper infused products have other than the 100% natural. So if you want to go natural and you think you would be able to benefit from the healthy, antibacterial, antifungal, antimicrobial surgical instruments are now being used of the 100% bare copper. making. So, I have found them to be very beneficial for me. My family has found them to be very beneficial. My great aunts and uncles wore them. I didn't know that until after I got into it, but there's a significance to it. It's no longer in our soil. We still need it in our system, and it does assist us, being that we are electromagnetic beings. It is a conductor. The same way we wire our house, we are wired. These things imitate us. We are the temple. We house the spirit. And that's that for this week. One Love and Wellness. Hope that you'll come back soon. Let's see if I can get some music going. And if I do, I hope it doesn't come back too loudly. But join us next time as we're going to talk about how to be happy and to keep your heart happy. This is Heart Happy Hour. See you next episode. Free. After learning all you know, that's where you'll find me. That's where you'll find me. Totally free.